Hey there, welcome back to the Operator. My name is Joe Reitz, and in our last video we talked about just the basic theory behind the CI/CD process and how to use GitHub and a deployment platform like Vercel together to get your applications out there in the world. The unfortunate side of that video is we didn't actually do anything, so I wanted to have a fast follow here where we go through just the basics of taking a repo that exists and downloading it to your machine and customizing it for your own purposes and getting that puppy shipped. So what we're going to do is cut over to GitHub. There's a repo on themoperator.com that I've shared that is just a basic marketing toolkit. I showed it briefly in the last video. We'll look at it again here. But from this page, this public repo, there's a couple of ways you can do it. One theme I want you to remember, just in general for this and all things in life, is there's usually more than one way to do any one thing. So I'm going to try to show the most accessible, easy, straightforward ways of doing things. As you build proficiency, you're going to find ways that are more efficient or different or just better. That's part of the learning experience. The other thing I'm going to say before I get this started is we're doing this live. It might be messy. There might be a couple weird cuts and retakes. Full disclosure, I was recording this earlier and I was struggling with an issue and I was like, I don't know what's wrong. Turns out I'd burned through all my OpenAI credits. So fix that and we're going to move on. But once you're in GitHub, what you're simply going to do is this green, if you're in dark mode, this green button that says code. If you hit this drop down, you'll have a few options here. Please do go ahead and download GitHub Desktop if you haven't already, and just pause this video and get it installed and all that. We are going to be using it a little bit here, just to kind of show how some of the process works. But especially if you're using something like Cursor or any other kind of agentic AI app development tool, you can have it do a lot of the what's called CLI, the command line interface, the Git commands for you. So it just pushes to a branch, does whatever. But what we're going to do is click download zip. I have already actually done this. So I have the zip file here. And what I'm going to do is make sure it's in where I store my GitHub files locally. So let me just open this folder or unzip this folder. And then I'm going to grab this whole folder and just drag it in to where I store all my other repos. I'm also going to rename it so I have some delineation from the actual toolkit that is in the public repo. So I'm going to save it like that. And then what I'm going to do is simply open up GitHub Desktop. So what GitHub Desktop will do for you in a very easy way is enable you to create your own repo from that code. Because if we were to go into this folder, it's essentially just all the files that were in that repo. It is the repo itself. So what we're doing with GitHub Desktop is then making that repo on your own account. And you can make this private so other people can't see it or fork it or do anything with it. You can make it public. Do whatever you want with it. This is free open source work. Please have at it. But what we're going to do very simply is in this drop down, we're going to say add, and we're going to say create new repository. We're going to call this, I think I said OSS Marketing Toolkit Operator is what I named the folder. And we're going to browse to that exact folder. So right here. And I'm going to click open. And then I could add a description like demonstration of how to ship code to GitHub and deploy on Vercel. Whatever, doesn't matter. I'm going to create this repository. And then the next thing that GitHub Desktop is going to prompt me to do is publish that repository. So if I go ahead and do that, that description pops up again, and I just click publish. And what it just did was if I go back to my browser and I go back home, I can see, if I type OSS, I can see that that repo now exists. But when I go look at it, you'll notice that there's actually nothing in it. Could be mildly problematic. Before we get too much further, I'm going to go create a Vercel project and tie it to this repo. I think that's a good next step. The reason there's nothing in this repo yet is we haven't actually pushed any of those files up. We haven't run a commit. So we have published the repo and it exists, but we haven't added the actual code to it. So before we even do that, let's go into Vercel, and I'm going to create a new project, and I'm simply going to, and then you'll see my latest repos are here. So all I have to do is really click import. I can name it whatever I want. This is fine for me, for my purposes right now. And I'm going to click deploy. What Vercel is going to do automatically, and I have a pro account, but don't worry about it. You can do this on a hobby account, a free account. But what Vercel is going to do automatically is just deploy whatever code exists in this repo, which right now is a big old 404 because there is literally nothing in it. So I'm going to continue to the dashboard. And that's all I have to do for now in Vercel. So when I push code into that GitHub, it's going to automatically redeploy in Vercel and be pretty much ready to go. So let's go back to let's go back to Cursor. So if I like using Cursor because it's very straightforward, especially for if you're going to be leaning into what's called vibe coding, which is just letting the agent do all the coding for you and trying to passively absorb knowledge as you go. But you can click Open Project and navigate to wherever you saved your repo. So mine's in Documents, GitHub, and then this OSS Marketing Toolkit operator. And one thing I like doing right away is toggling the sidebar. So you can basically see everything that was in that folder. And the basic structure here is that there's a source folder and then the app folder. Everything lives under the app folder. Every main thing. One thing I wanted to show is before we get there, let me first thing that we should do is actually get a preview development server going so we can see what the app actually looks like and interact with it as we develop it. So there's terminal commands you can learn to do this yourself without having to prompt an AI and burn credits. But I'm just going to show you the easy, accessible way is please install all dependencies necessary to run a local dev server, and then start a local dev server for me so I can review the application locally. Something to that effect. Any agent is going to know what you mean. So what Cursor is going to do now is going to install, typically the first thing you do when you download a repo like this is you're going to install any peer dependencies. So anything that I have installed in my local environment that some of the code might be referencing, you're going to make sure you have all the same downloads, like you have Next.js installed, all that. So it's going to go ahead and cook and do its thing. All dependencies are installed. It's going to get going on a server, starting up a dev server. While it does that, one thing that I think is really cool is in Cursor, you can choose between different models. There's a ton to choose from. What I generally find to be the best with working with large repos and where a lot of context is needed is one of the Claude models. So in particular, the 4.5 Opus High right now worked great for most things that I've thrown at it. There are, you could be using different vibe coding tools. You could do a lot of this in V0 natively. You can do Claude code in any IDE like VS Code. But it is now telling me the dev server is up and running. So you can see when I say local dev server, I really mean it spun up a server that exists on my machine, and it's at port 3001. So if I go back to my browser and I go to 3001, sorry, I was running this earlier. So if I let me just delete this, it should take me to the home page. Oh, we have a failed to compile error. How do we troubleshoot this? So let me just refresh, make sure it's actually an error. And then I'm going to screenshot this. How you get this console to appear if you're using Chrome is if you just hit F12. It will pop up from the side or the bottom. What's generally helpful is if you grab a quick screenshot and you say, copy that to my clipboard, come back into Cursor, and I'm going to say, I got this build error. Can you investigate the code and resolve the error for me? Please briefly explain what was wrong and how you fixed it. So the reason I recommend prompting like this is the more you expose yourself to AI tools and just the development process and really app development, the more you're going to absorb. And AI tooling is fantastic, and it's helping just revolutionize iteration velocity. But sometimes you don't want to burn credits on stuff you know how to do. And there's an expression I grew up with. If you want to have nice stuff, you got to know how to make nice stuff. So it's kind of that same thriftiness concept. So what this did is let's see what it says. It said it was a permissions error. The next JS dev server is running in a sandbox and can't read files from the node modules. Oh, I have no idea what that means. So it fixed it and opened up a new local host at 3002. So let's go there. Okay, we're in business. So I'm going to go ahead and X out of the sidebar here. As you can see, we have a light mode, we have a dark mode. I'm not trying to go blind, so I'm going to leave it in dark mode. But we have various things in this toolkit. Most of it's running on just Next.js. There's the opportunity to implement AI, and that's what we're going to do momentarily. But there's some naming conventions in here already for like Salesforce campaigns. I said map campaign or map asset. If you're using Marketo or Inflection or whatever you're using, those are there to name things in your systems. In case you want to do it differently than what you do in Salesforce, well, I would always recommend using the same naming convention if at all possible, because usually there's parity, especially between like a Marketo program and a Salesforce campaign. But you can see that I have a lot of Next.js, or I have a lot of JavaScript behind this that automates fixing a lot of the human inputs. I typed a space, but it made a dash, and then I pick a date. This is not AI. This is just how the things you can do with JavaScript. I generate a campaign name. I can copy this. I can go take it wherever. It's ready to roll. You can navigate around this app and familiarize yourself with kind of the various features and functionalities that exist here. Like one thing that I like for creating OG cards and other like email banners or anything else is just an image creator. And you can even upload your own custom background, and you're going to see a picture of my dog momentarily, I think. Yeah. So like if you wanted to have your own thing, you like if you have image backgrounds that your design team has available or what have you, you can create these. Let's actually think Open Graph works better for me for this. And let's say I want to, I have a toggle here to blur it so that you're not staring at my dog and you can see the text. We could add all kinds of drop shadow options. We could add whatever we want to this to make it fit your brand. But this is meant to be just a starting point. This toolkit is based off of the Vercel marketing toolkit that we use every day. So can vouch that it's there's a lot here and a lot that can be useful for you and your marketing teams. But one thing I wanted to park on is we have a content analyzer built into this that one big challenge that I think I've witnessed at every company I've ever worked at is there's usually a particular voice that we like to use. And Vercel is very clipped, very succinct to the point, does not a lot of fluff, and tries to be as clear as possible. AWS is much the same way. Anyone that markets to developers, it's usually that way. But that's not really how I think or how I write. So having a tool like this that can kind of course correct my thoughts and put it more in the brand voice helps me iterate faster. So this won't work right now though, because if I were to type anything in here, I can pick different types of content. Let's say email. I need to enter some stuff, but let's say I enter text. It's going to tell me, oh, hey, there's an error. Go fix something. And I can tell you right now what that error is we don't have an OpenAI API key implemented in our local environment yet. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're not going to use Cursor for this. There is an environment local file example in here where it has open API key and paste your API key here. What you can do is create the actual file. So .env.local is how you name it. And what we need is OpenAI API key. So I'm just going to hit enter there, hit equals. And then we need to go actually generate one. So I'm going to go back to my browser. I'm going to go back to my API keys. I'm going to create a temp demo API key. And I'm going to say default project. I'm going to delete this, so don't worry if this is exposed. I don't care. It's not going to persist much longer. And then all I need to do is paste that value here and then click save. So then I think if I come back to my local environment, I might need to redeploy the dev server again. But let's actually do a refresh and see if this takes. So subject line, the Moperator cooks. This video demo was the bee's knees. I'm writing this intentionally in ways that I know how the AI route on this is set up to be very much not what how we write and say things at Vercel. So here, sorry, I'm doxing my my email, but I'm going to say in this demo, Joe reviewed how to download a repo to your local machine, how to prompt Cursor or other AI tools to install dependencies, and then how to add an environment variable to make advanced functionality like AI content analysis to work. Okay, so I'm going to click this now. I'm going to open up the side panel because I anticipate an error, but I'm going to go ahead and click. And this means it means the AI thought through it, and the AI route ran. And you might want to prompt, if you fork this repo and want to customize it for your business, one of the first prompts you're going to want to give something like Cursor or Claude is your brand guidelines, how your company writing style is, like how you format dates, how you say anything, what your tone is like, what have you. We have some of that documented here. Vercel is very, like I said, very clipped. We don't use exclamation points. We definitely don't talk. We don't write how I talk. But you can see how it organized it in a very structured, thematic way. This might not, hit it out of the park every time. But in terms of like helping your stakeholders be able to iterate quickly and just get some ideas on paper and make them semi-presentable, where, like the very common observation is that it's 10 times easier to react to something than it is to create something. So let's minimize the barrier to creation and maximize the velocity to iteration. That sounds like a catchphrase. That sounded a little too corporate for me. You know what I mean. But I can copy this to my clipboard, go on wherever I need to go. We're done. But you can see it also rewrote a better subject line and a better rewritten pre-header for this too, and it kind of summarizes what it did. So if I'm the kind of person that likes to reflect on, okay, why do I suck? What did I do wrong? This gives me some things, some active feedback. And this is just how we constructed this at Vercel to work for us. I respond really well to negative feedback. But hopefully that's helpful for you in terms of like how to take something like this content analyzer and make it work. Before I move on, I'm going to go ahead and delete this key so you know I meant it. This one too. So that no longer would work. But let's say I wanted to do exactly what I did before, where I said, in my previous post where I said, never deploy to main right away, like do a branch. Let's say I want to say to Cursor, create a staging branch. Then I'm going to give you further changes to the app. So So it's going to do the necessary git commands. So it's checking out a staging branch. Oh, and it's saying it's running into a couple errors and it's fixing itself. Okay, so let's look at this within what we can see in GitHub now. So if I were to, so we have one branch, it's just main. But if I were to go back to GitHub desktop, do we see the staging branch now? Or can we see the staging branch? Not yet. So, okay, cool. We've got our staging branch. It hasn't been pushed anywhere. That's why we don't see it in GitHub. Publish the staging branch, please. Oh, no report permits are committed. To publish the staging branch in a GitHub repository. Oh, yeah. So I can give him that. It is simply this. So a lot of times you think ahead of your agent. And what something like Cursor is going to ask you a lot is like, hey, do you want to just allow commands like this all the time, or do you want to allow them one by one? Generally, for me, a common rube, I will let it do what it needs to do, and just let it, if it needs to run a new console command or ask permissions, like don't even ask me, dude. You have my permission to do what you need. Okay, so we've published that branch, and if I go back to my repo. Now we see two branches. They're both empty, but now we see them. So cool. Okay, so now I'm just going to do a very simple edit, and I want it to incorporate the Moperator logo. So I'm going to drag in a file, replace the default logo in this app with the attached file. I don't know if SVG is going to work for all formats here, but we're going to find out. So you can see it's already starting to cook on some things. It's got it incorporated into the image generator. We might need to reprompt it, or it might still be thinking on like how to add it up here and wherever else it needs to appear. But here within the image generator, I have a slider that I can increase it to a certain rate. I can change this. In the Vercel one, we have the triangle logo mark and the triangle with the word mark. We have some options here to do top, left, center. Probably an even more modern way to do this is like let me drag and drop wherever I want. I think Cursor would be able to figure that out for you. But you get the idea of where we're going with this. So it's still thinking through some stuff, but when it's done with this, what I'm going to do is say, cool, let's publish the staging branch and create a PR, a pull request. And we're going to walk through what that whole process looks like. So it was thinking through how doing some light mode stuff. I don't actually need it to do this, but so I stopped the prompt, but I'm going to say, let's go ahead and submit a PR for the staging branch. And it's going to think through the git command. So this is essentially what it would be doing is something you could be doing is if you learn the terminal commands, it's just running a bunch of git commands in the terminal to like do a git push, which is taking the code and pushing it up into our repository. And the GitHub CLI is not installed, but you can create your PR directly in your browser. Let's go to that link. Actually, let's ask it. Allow. So the thing I'm really trying to hammer home is that you're going to run into stuff like this, and it's just very important to keep your cool and just think through like, okay, well, what do you need from me? So a lot of times it's nothing, and it can actually figure it out itself. So it's going to create this PR itself now, or try to. Let's authenticate with GitHub first. Let me start, allow. Oh. So this is some stuff you may not run into all the time, but continue. I think there was a code it gave me. 7168374. I'm going to authorize. Cool. We're connected. So if I come back here, what are we seeing? It's playing its moves. So we never actually published the main branch. So typically what you do the first time you deploy a repo, when we were doing everything in GitHub Desktop before, where is it? Typically what we do here is like do an initial commit and say some description here and then deploy. It is going to try to figure this out for us. And you can see that our pull request now exists here. And because we integrated this with Vercel earlier, it's actually going through and Vercel is trying to deploy the app. So if I actually log into Vercel, which was, I think, this tab, yep. If I go to my deployments tab, I should see some things actually have been building. So if I were to come back to my overview, so it doesn't look like it's because we haven't deployed to main. So what we need to do is, so it cleared all checks. Let me double check those deployments one more time. So this was staging. Perfect. Okay, so let me explain what just happened there. So we created a PR. We shipped everything up to GitHub into the staging branch. But if I come back here, you can see it's not in main yet. But when you deploy to Vercel, this is a preview deployment. So you get a unique link here that you can view or share. And I can see here, like, it actually is the repo. So it's going to authenticate. It's going to let me see that, yep, this is the repo. I would typically come in here, click around, test some things, make sure everything's working as intended, and then deploy. In this case, I already know that it built in Vercel. It's built locally. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to wherever that was, the PR. And I'm going to say merge. So what merge does is it takes all the code that we shipped up to the staging branch, and it's going to apply that to the main branch. So I'm going to merge that request, confirm the merge. Typically here, if you're iterating alone and building your own stuff, like there's no one to do a code review for you, typically a best practice would be have someone else check your work, review everything, and kind of be eyes over your shoulder. If we log back into Vercel now, sorry, I keep clicking the wrong tab, we can now see that the main branch is building. So here in a moment, what we should see, we can click into this and watch it build. You'll get email notifications if a build ever fails, but it's building, it's doing its thing. Depending on the app and depending on what you're shipping, it may deploy in as little as 30 seconds. It may take longer. You can get a sense of what it's taken previous builds. So that took about 49 seconds for us to build. But now I can see at our primary URL, I could share this link publicly. It's deployed. We're deployed to Vercel. It's ready to use. Typically, you'd want to work with your IT team to maybe put this behind either a Ethernet, or some sort of SSO that it's just not publicly on the internet, or maybe password protected. There's some options for even setting those settings up in your Vercel project itself. So if you go over to settings, and then I think it's under, typically what I do is just password protection. So we can have it, right now it's enabled only for people on my team. That's I think because it's tied to my Vercel account. But you can also make it password protected, so even people that were within my organization would still need the password to be able to access it. Whatever level of security you want, that's there. The other thing I would want to show you here is the environment variables we did locally. You would want to pass those here as well. So I could do that the same way I did in the local environment file and paste that value here and click save. Or I could just have cursor push it up for me and it just works. But that was, believe it or not, the end-to-end. We downloaded a repo, we made some customizations in cursor, and we shipped that right back and deployed on Vercel. So hope that was helpful. We're going to record a lot more videos like this, do a lot more messy building in public. But if you have questions, drop them in the comments of the video. And yeah, hope to talk more soon.